Montpelier may be the state capital, but farms are the heart of Vermont. And what happens in Montpelier each legislative session has a big impact on Vermont farmers. So today on Across the Fence, we're sitting down with Anson Tebbetts, Vermont's Secretary of Agriculture, to talk 2026 legislative priorities. Hello, Vermont. On January 6, Vermont's General Assembly convened for the second legislative session of the 2025-26 biennium. With sessions in our part-time legislature only lasting about 18 weeks, action can move quickly. But the legislative process also typically spans 2 years. In 2026, with state elections coming up in November, it's about carrying the football over the proverbial goal line, to borrow a timely analogy. And Vermont's Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Markets has his eye on a few key issues. It's my pleasure to welcome Anson Tebbetts back to Across the Fence and to WCIX. As you no doubt know, before being appointed to his cabinet position in 2016, Secretary Tebbetts, who grew up on a Cabot dairy farm and sugaring farm, enjoyed a long career in broadcasting, starting off covering the State House before ascending to the role of news director. He's been called the face of Vermont agriculture, charged with overseeing the state's agricultural policies and programs while representing the perspectives of our state's farming communities to the government. Secretary Tebbetts, it's a real pleasure to have you here.
That's great. That's quite an open.
I know, that's a lot of words.
Pressure's on for me now.
Yeah, so he's sitting here the whole time being like, is she still going? Yes, and there's just a teeny bit of pressure. Let's just go ahead and confront the elephant in the room. There's a tiny bit of pressure when you are sitting here with somebody who has done like what you did, something like what you did for such a very long time. So actually, let's start there. How is it to be back at WCIX?
It's wonderful. Enjoying it. It looks fabulous. Looks great.
Do you like our new set?
I love your new set. It's very comfortable, and these are very cozy and comfortable.
They are cozy and comfortable, and on a winter morning like today, I feel like you do. You want to sink into the chair a little bit and have a nice conversation about.
And it's a real Vermont winter.
And it is a real Vermont
winter.
winter.
I guess we call it normal, but we've been blessed, I think.
Yeah.
So yes.
I know. I think we're all enjoying that.
We are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I saw you, we were at the fair. You were inducting Across the Fence into the Agricultural Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of my favorite things to do, and it's at the Champlain Valley Fair, and we recognize some of the new people that are coming through agriculture and some of the veterans that plowed a lot of ground for all of us, and it's just a wonderful event. And before you know it, it'll be 85 degrees and we'll be under a tent enjoying the fair.
Oh, that does sound good, doesn't it? Yeah, 85 degrees at the fair. I can smell the cotton candy right now. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a series of primer type questions, because I always like to do this. What impact does the Secretary of Agriculture have on the legislative process in Vermont?
Well, we have a seat at the table, so it could be the budget, it could be policy. We may need some laws that need to be changed. So we have, we're at the seat of the table. I work for Governor Scott. He has his agenda, and part of his agenda includes, rural Vermont and agriculture and growing the economy and making it more affordable. So we have a seat at the table, and we work with our other partners, which is the General Assembly. So we present ideas to them. They may say yes, they may say no. We may come to a compromise on something, and they may do something that maybe we don't think is right to do, that we don't want to happen, but that's part of the legislative process. It's part of democracy. I have a great relationship with both committees. We're primarily in the Ag committees in the Senate and the House, but we may dip our toes into the environmental committees, maybe the institutions, institutions committees. So you talked about the football analogy, and I think we're probably on the 20-yard line right now.
20? Okay, well, we haven't moved that football that far yet.
We're getting there.
But we're only at the beginning of that second half of this biennium session, which actually I have to say is something I had to learn about, because in California, this is not the way that our state legislature works.
It's a very quick turnaround.
Yeah.
It's 2 years. And one of the things is some bills that didn't make it from last year can be considered this year. But after this session closes, probably in mid-May, it's all gone, and they have to start in the beginning again on the 1 yard line.
Another question. How much pressure is there on lawmakers during a second session of the biennium? Because you also have that looming, are people thinking about re-election campaigns? Because everybody is re-elected again, hopefully, or elected again at the end of each session, correct?
I think that we are one of 2 states that have 2-year terms, New Hampshire being the other one. So it is a very quick turnaround. And when I talk with some of our colleagues around the country, they're like, wow, you have only 2 years to, before the next election. So it's a big turnaround. But
it's on
I think
people's mind, but they're still working hard.
I think, and I think, historically, the legislature may decide to get out on time or even a little early because of some of the election laws. This is a very short period of time from May till, and if it's a primary season, the primary's in August, and then the general election in November.
Politics never stops.
It does not.
Okay, well, neither does government.
Right.
So let's talk about some of your legislative priorities in this sort of second piece, because some of them are things that have been moving through the legislature that are maybe you're hoping are going to cross the finish line and end up being signed. What are some of your priorities right now?
Well, why don't we talk with the budget, and this is in the dairy sector. Dairy farmers are going through a really rough stretch now.
Yes.
The price of milk is not great. They've got high inputs. The cost of doing business is pretty high. So the governor and we have proposed dropping a significant fee to some of our dairy farmers. They pay a fee. The large farmers pay a annual fee of about $2,500, and then the medium farmers pay a fee of $1,500. The small farmers have not paid that fee over the last decade or so.
They get like a traditional exclusion from it.
Exactly. So we've decided, and in no way do we think this is going to fix the bigger issue of the pricing in the federal system with dairy, but it's a situation where we think it would be important to maybe take one bill off the pile that farmers are facing right now.
Improve cash flow.
So that is one of our priorities, to get the legislature to agree to drop that annual fee. And I think
How's it looking?
It was received well in the Senate Ag Committee. We're working our way through the budget process now, so we'll go to various committees. We'll be in the appropriations committees in both the House and Senate, and they'll be the key decision makers on that, with influence from the other committees saying this is a good idea and not a good idea. We think it will impact about 131 dairy farmers, which is significant. So it's also a competitive thing. Folks over in New York and New Hampshire, they don't have this fee as well.
Okay.
So it's a competitive thing. So it's not going to solve everything, but I think it's a situation where we're looking at, hey, we can take one significant bill off the pile, and that money will directly go back into the community because they'll pay something else as they go forward.
Speaking of money, I think something else you probably have your eye on is the Farm Security Fund.
Yes, and that's working its way through the legislative process. This came out of we had some significant weather events in 23, 24.
We had Nicole Dubuque from your office here not long ago. They were talking about the Vermont Agricultural Task Force. So is that a part of?
That's part of it. So we've gone through 2 floods, severe weather, frost, and then we had drought last year. So a group of farmers have gotten together, and they think we need to have this sort of permanent fund so we can react quickly when the next natural disaster comes. The challenge will be, where do we find the money? Yeah, and that's
always the sticky wicket.
Where does the money come from? But we've rallied in the past during the severe weather. The governor and the Agency of Agriculture quickly did dispense about $3.5 million through another program, through Commerce. But this program would be housed at the Agency of Agriculture. A committee would come together, and if there was a natural disaster, we would get in force. But the challenge will be whether we can find the dollars that will go into that. But that's making its way through the process. It cleared the House of Representatives. So it's gone through all the committee process, cleared the House. It's now in the Senate, and in the Senate we'll have to decide what they want to do next. And essentially, if they agree to what's been there, we've got one more stop, and then it would become law. Most likely, if it was signed into law, probably in July.
Okay. If anybody at home wants to keep an eye on that, that's S60, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So S60, something you're thinking about. Also, municipal zoning.
Municipal zoning. This comes.
Big deal.
Yeah. This is a significant one. We had a big Supreme Court decision. And essentially the Supreme Court said and gave more authority to municipalities to regulate farming.
Which could mean now a patchwork of regulations all over the state, different regulations.
And one thing that I think everyone enjoys, particularly the farm world, is clarity, consistency, and not having to stop many hoops to figure out what they're doing. So this could significantly impact where and what you could do with farming. So if a municipality said, hey, I do not want this 3-acre pick your own strawberry operation within maybe the city limits, they could say, hey, that's not allowed. So we're working on to clarify that, put some solid guardrails on what operations would be eligible, and we're reacting to what the Supreme Court said. And we've been working closely with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, a number of the farm groups, whether it be the Farm Bureau, whether it be Rural Vermont. So that will be one of our priorities, to see if we can get that past this session, so to bring clarity to municipalities, but also more importantly to our farm community. It's like this is the law of the land now. I think there are, farming may not be.
Here it's always been known as kind of right to farm.
Yeah, and there may be some instances where it's not appropriate to farm.
Okay.
So I think that's that's the key. It may not be appropriate to farm, but usually it's been the state that's made that call of whether it's appropriate or not through various, mostly through required agriculture practices, which is the environmental practices. So, but I think that's where the rub is. It may not, it's farming is challenging because sometimes you've got smells, sometimes you got noises.
Sure.
And all that stuff. So it's challenging, and it may not be appropriate for every place as Vermont's landscape has changed. So I think we want to bring clarity.
Something that we do know is that when agricultural land falls out of agricultural use, it tends to seldom return, right?
Correct. And I think it's important that 2 to 3 acres could have a significant impact and be a viable business. We do have some energy with next generation of people that want to get into farming, may have never been in farming before, but want to get farming.
I'm hearing interesting things about, for example, goats.
Goats, we need more goat farmers at a significant scale, because we have a creamery in Vermont called Vermont Creamery.
Yes.
And they're having to source some of their milk from Canada and New York and other states. So we're hoping more will take that on, or maybe someone wants to raise some goats and make some cheese or with it as well. So there's lots of opportunities.
Lots of opportunities. All right. Well, there you go. So now you have the Secretary of Agriculture has given you your update on what's going on with the legislature. People are going to have to keep their eyes peeled.
Absolutely.
Ears open, eyes peeled, something like that.
It's moving target.
It's moving.
It's live one day. Could be dead, but until they adjourn, we really don't know what's there.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to have you here
Thank
today.
you.
And as always, Vermont, thank you for learning and exploring with me today. And thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.